The vault roared to life, spinning the liquid metal into a blinding vortex. Marcus screamed as his mind anchored reality against the cosmic rot, but the wave of his raw consciousness didn't stop there. It shot across the galaxy, riding the communication grid and permanently burning out every harmonizer implant in existence. The High Council had predicted that restoring emotion would cause immediate war. Instead, as trillions of alien citizens woke up from their mechanical sleep, they were flooded with the residual echo of Marcus's profound empathy, sorrow, and unconditional love for life. On the military dreadnoughts hovering over Earth, the newly awakened crews overrode the combat algorithms. Alien commanders wept openly at their consoles, overwhelmed by what they had almost destroyed. The galaxy was saved, standing in a stunned, emotional silence, no longer quiet, but finally alive and learning to feel. On the dusty, neon-lit border world of Ostraca, Captain Marcus Vance, a rugged human salvage captain with a mind unaugmented by technology, sat in a crowded tavern, trying to forget his past. Suddenly, a squad of Concordat security enforcers marched in, led by a high-ranking official. The official displayed a data tablet showing the dying power grids of the core worlds and explained their desperate situation. They needed an unaugmented human mind to enter the vault and interface with the precursor AI. Marcus laughed bitterly at the irony. The council that had cast his kind aside as savages now begged for his help. To secure his cooperation, the official offered an astronomical payout and a treaty guaranteeing permanent sovereignty for all human border colonies. Thinking of the millions of innocent families on the frontier, Marcus finished his drink and accepted the mission, not for the council, but for his people. The silence did not last. Deep in the galaxy's uncharted center, a colossal alien superstructure woke up. The moon-sized obsidian sphere didn't fire weapons, instead, it pulsed a dead switch wave through hyperspace every few hours. The effect was catastrophic. On the capital planet of Primus, advanced power grids failed, plunging towering spires into freezing darkness, halting transit networks, and draining life support systems. The High Council's powerful AI constructs tried to hack the network to send a shutdown command, but the ancient security system rejected them, broadcasting, inputs invalid. Organic baseline signature absent. Because the leaders relied on synthetic neural augmentations, the machine did not recognize them. Without a completely organic mind to interface with the core, the power drain would continue until every core world froze. The Concordat was a cold, efficient alien utopia with no crime or war, achieved through a mandatory implant called the Harmonizer. This device monitored neural pathways, instantly smoothing emotions like anger, grief, or intense joy into flat, predictable logic. The galaxy was peaceful, orderly, and entirely hollow. Then came humanity. They fiercely refused the implant, arguing that stripping away their passions meant stripping away their souls. Classified as dangerous savages, humans were banished to the resource-poor outer rims. To the logical galaxy, a human was a volatile ticking time bomb. For decades, the stars remained quiet, running on the silent hum of a trillion suppressed minds. Outside the vault, the galaxy was running out of time. The power drain had plunged over 70% of the core worlds into total darkness, pushing the Concordat to the brink of collapse. Panicking in their dark chamber, the High Council relied on a flawed, hyper-logical algorithm to analyze the situation. It concluded that because a human was inside the vault, humanity must be using the ancient superstructure as a weapon to overthrow the Empire. To eliminate the threat, the Council authorized their massive, automated military armada to jump directly toward the defenseless human border colonies. Their plan was to completely destroy Earth and every human territory from orbit, believing it would break the connection to the vault. The countdown to genocide had begun, and the automated warships felt nothing as they closed in on their targets. Marcus stood frozen as the weight of the universe settled onto his shoulders. The fleet was closing in on Earth, the core worlds were freezing, and the machine was preparing a galaxy-wide reset. The precursor AI turned to Marcus. You carry the raw frequencies of true consciousness. You can become the anchor, but you must interface your mind directly into the core matrix. Asterisk. Takalon, now experiencing true empathy, grabbed Marcus's arm. Marcus, no. The volume of data will tear your mind apart. Marcus looked at the core, thinking of his lost crew and the families on Earth. If I don't do this, nobody gets to feel anything ever again, he said softly. He stepped to the terminal and slammed his hands into the interface nodes. Instantly, Marcus's spine went rigid and his eyes glowed with blinding white light as the entire history of human emotion, rage, sorrow, love, and hope, flooded into the ancient machine. The interior of the vault was a shifting labyrinth of hard light structures that defied traditional geometry. Instead of laser turrets, each chamber presented a psychological challenge. One room dissolved into a terrifying, bottomless cosmic void. The next became a chaotic, blinding maze of shifting mirrors and deafening frequencies. Takalon immediately struggled. His mathematical models predicted paths based on efficiency, but every choice led to a dead end. The Concordat's logical framework had no answer for a structure operating on abstract principles. Marcus, however, recognized that the vault was testing their emotional responses. Instead of panicking in the void, he accepted his fear, using it to focus and spot a subtle shimmer marking the exit. In the maze, he relied on gut instinct, pulling Takalon through the shifting light. The alien officer watched in bewilderment as the primitive human navigated the impossible architecture using nothing but raw intuition. The shimmering veil between the two realities vibrated like a plucked string as Leo's mother stepped forward. Her face, lined with the exhaustion of a 3-year cosmic exile, softened into pure awe. "I knew you'd crack the code, Leo," she said, her voice echoing strangely as if traveling through water. Maya stood just a step behind him, paralyzed by the sheer impossibility of witnessing a reunion across the fractured seams of the cosmos. Dr. Vance held up a hand, warning them not to cross the threshold just yet. "The spatial tension at the seam is still normalizing," she explained, her eyes darting to the telemetry data flickering on her handheld monitor. "Give it a few minutes to lace together." Leo nodded, his fingers gripping the strap of his backpack so tightly his knuckles turned white. He had 1,000 questions burning in his throat, but all he could do was stare at the physical proof that his mother was alive. As they waited, the surrounding landscape continued its subtle, surreal transformation. The trees along the ridge leaned toward the boundary, their leaves rustling as a gentle draft blew from one reality into the other, equalizing the pressure between the folds. The inverted city above them began to dim its artificial lights as the dual-fold sunrise reached its peak, bathing both sides of the ridge in a brilliant, interconnected glow. Maya finally found her voice, looking past Dr. Vance. "Is everyone over there okay?" The people back in our town were terrified. One of the researchers behind Dr. Vance stepped forward with a reassuring smile. "It was terrifying for us too, initially," he called back. "But the geometry is stable. Tell your father that the observatory's baseline equations were correct. The universe isn't collapsing, it's just packing itself more efficiently. Resources, land, and atmospheres are all merging. The barrier between them suddenly flared with a soft, iridescent pulse, the harsh distortion settling into a perfectly clear pane of open air. The strange hum in their teeth faded completely, replaced by the familiar chirping of birds from both valleys." Dr. Vance lowered her monitor, extended her hand across the open air, and smiled. "The lattice is locked," she whispered. "Come look at your new home." As they reached the deeper sanctums, a high-voltage energy field began to interfere with Takalon's cranial implant. The harmonizer sparked violently and short-circuited, going completely dark. The effect was instantaneous. For the first time in his life, decades of suppressed emotions and sudden panic flooded Takalon's organic brain, causing him to collapse. He was completely unequipped to handle raw feeling. Marcus immediately knelt beside the spiraling alien, grabbing his shoulders firmly. "Look at me," Marcus commanded calmly. "Breathe with me. Feel the fear, don't fight it." Under Marcus's steady guidance, Takalon's panic subsided. He was left exhausted but hyper-aware, looking at Marcus with a profound, newfound understanding. The vault roared to life, spinning the liquid metal into a blinding vortex. Marcus screamed as his mind anchored reality against the cosmic rot, but the wave of his raw consciousness didn't stop there. It shot across the galaxy, riding the communication grid and permanently burning out every harmonizer implant in existence. The High Council had predicted that restoring emotion would cause immediate war. Instead, as trillions of alien citizens woke up from their mechanical sleep, they were flooded with the residual echo of Marcus's profound empathy, sorrow, and unconditional love for life. On the military dreadnoughts hovering over Earth, the newly awakened crews overrode the combat algorithms. Alien commanders wept openly at their consoles, overwhelmed by what they had almost destroyed. The galaxy was saved, standing in a stunned, emotional silence, no longer quiet, but finally alive and learning to feel.